Hello everyone, and welcome to Noodle Journey, your destination for detailed and informative reviews of the instant noodle universe. And yes, I'm doing one more kimchi variety today, but it's because these are kind of a hot ticket item right now, and I've been trying to get my hands on a pack for a few months, and I wanted to get the review posted right away. This is Samyang's Tangle Kimchi Rosé Tangluccine. Before we get started, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy these reviews. So I was finally able to get a pack of this flavor, and I couldn't be more excited to review it. Back in episode 122, I reviewed the other product in this line, which is the Bulgogi Alfredo flavor, and you're really going to want to check out that episode if Korean-Italian fusion noodles is something that interests you, because those were seriously good. And they missed being on my top 10 list by just a hair. The idea with this Tangle line of products, of which there are only two right now, is that Samyang has created a Korean-inspired pasta, these wildly good, flat, air-dried noodles that you see on the front that kind of resemble fettuccine, and then they combine it with a premium plant-based flake packet and this Italian-Korean fusion sauce covering everything. Now, the rosé sauce in this is supposed to be a creamy, cheesy tomato blush sauce with some Korean flair, and we'll talk about what's in it when I open the pack up. If you want to buy either of the Tangle flavors and you live in the US or Canada, check your local Asian markets first, but you can also grab these from yamibuy.com and other online retailers as they become more widely available. I paid $9 for this in a 4-pack and $8 for the other flavor in a 4-pack, so you'll see it in that ballpark. So getting into the nutrition and ingredients, first off, the sodium count is only 1,270 milligrams, or 55% of your daily allowance, which is nice. That's honestly really good compared to other instant noodle varieties. Now inside the pack, we've got these wonderful air-dried noodles, plus a flake packet, sauce packet, and a powder packet. And I love how these say step 1, step 2, and step 3 in case you don't have the instructions handy. Now the flakes, which are vegan, contain kimchi, cabbage, onion, bok choy, and tomato. And the kimchi flakes being vegan is an important point here because kimchi usually has seafood paste in it. Now the package ingredients don't differentiate between what's in the sauce versus the powder, but between these two we have additional kimchi seasoning, more tomato, sugar, MSG, soy sauce, garlic, sesame milk, and mozzarella cheese. So while the flakes are vegan, the sauce contains dairy, and I suspect that the powder packet contains the milk and cheese, but I have no way of saying that conclusively. It's just a hunch. So let's get this cooked up, and I will be back to add the sauce and powder. Alright, so here's the noodles and flakes and what's left of the noodle water. And like with the Alfredo variety, this could be a bit too much water depending on how thick you want your sauce. So depending on how this review goes, you may want to drain some out when it's done cooking. But you know, we follow directions on this channel, and so this is what's left of the original 1 1/3 cups, or 315 milliliters that this calls for. So let's put the sauce in. That is interesting. Not exactly what I was picturing at all. Okay, and now the powder. There's some kind of extra seasoning there that I can't quite place my finger on. Something herby. Might be parsley. It's hard to tell. All right, and we'll stir this up now. Yeah, the sauce packet is definitely not what I was expecting as far as a smell perspective. It's almost got like a smoky ketchup vibe to it. It doesn't remind me of kimchi at all, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It has a really neat smell. All right, this looks pretty nice. Not as thick as I'd like the sauce to be, as predicted. You can see it's still pretty watery there, even though it's got the cream and the cheese powder in here to supposedly thicken it up. But the smell is pretty good, like I was saying. The flakes are plentiful, and the presentation's pretty nice overall. Let's give it a taste. Wow, that's neat. Well, I might have just given away how I'm going to score this, but let's start the review with the noodle score. I said in the Alfredo video that these noodles are the best noodles that Samyang has ever put out, and I stand by that. As someone who loves the Bulldog noodles, these are better. Air-dried noodles just have a totally different texture than the thick and chewy noodles you see in Bulldog, and these are just a pleasure to eat. They're closer in texture to Taiwanese noodles or Italian pasta than to your typical Korean noodles, just a wonderfully firm, flat mouthfeel with no oily aftertaste. 10 out of 10 for the noodles. Moving on to the spice level. Since this does contain kimchi, you know you should expect some spiciness alongside that typical sour fermented kimchi flavor. And yeah, this has a little spice to it, but really not a lot. It's honestly the mildest kimchi flavored anything I've ever had. Like if you went to a Korean grocery store and bought a good jar of kimchi, you would find that jar to be way spicier than this is. Now, whether that's a result of the recipe used for the flakes or the fact that the dairy is toning things down into a more comfortable spice level, I'm not sure. But I think that all but the most spice intolerant of you should be able to enjoy this. So I'm going to give this a 1.5 out of 10 for spiciness. And let's talk about the flavors in here. It's honestly really complex. There's a lot going on. A lot of times now, after doing so many episodes, I sort of know what to expect when I bite into something. And this just kind of blew me away because I didn't expect it to taste the way it tastes. I mentioned the sourness and fermented flavor of the kimchi, and that's present, but more so just in the individual flakes. In the sauce as a whole, it's really, really tame compared to what you would get out of a jar of kimchi. If you are incredibly turned off by the flavor of kimchi, especially the fermentation funk, then this is probably not going to be for you. But I do have to say that the combination with the tomato and the dairy in the sauce is a little bit transformative. So it might actually win you over if you're kind of on the fence about whether or not you like kimchi. So we've still got a zesty kimchi bite, but without that acidic aftertaste that some people find harsh. The rest of the flavors are terrific without any one element being distractingly overpowered. There's a sweet tomato and cream flavor throughout, a little bit of smokiness, a lot of garlic, which I didn't expect and I love, and all this tomato and kimchi is really evened out by the milk and the cheese. There's not much of a cheese flavor to speak of because mozzarella is pretty mild after all, but, you know, the consistency of powdered cheese and cream is here, and it's good. Now, if you took out the kimchi, sesame, soy sauce, all that other good stuff, this sauce would probably remind you of something out of a can at your supermarket, aside from the wateriness. It's a really good flavor. As for the flakes, there's a ton of them, and they're of really great quality. The kimchi flakes have a good bite, a little sour cabbage hit. They do taste like kimchi. The onions are fine. And the little tomato chunks remind me of kind of like a soft, sun-dried tomato with a very slight tomato tang to them. I think this is a triumph of fusion noodles, just like the Bulgogi product was. But my one and only complaint, once again, is that I think the instructions don't jive with the expectations of this product. What do I mean? Look at the thick noodle coating consistency of the sauce on the package, and then look at the watered down consistency of the sauce in the final product. So, yeah, it's creamy, but it could be more. In my opinion, this sauce begs to be thicker. So as predicted, if you drain out some of the excess water when you're done cooking, you'd be looking at a perfect 10 for this product. Following the instructions as written, this is a 9.5 out of 10 for me. It's still unbelievably tasty with terrific noodles, but it has just that one nagging design flaw in the recipe. Regardless of how much water you leave in this at the end to your own personal taste, if you are at all interested in Korean fusion noodle products, you should definitely try this. My complaint about the instructions aside, this packs a wonderfully complex flavor. It has a sizable flake packet of excellent quality, and the noodles are just amazing. If you've had kimchi in the past and haven't enjoyed it, you might actually like the way it's presented here. I will leave it up to you if it's worth the risk of a purchase. For the rest of you who love kimchi, this is an easy recommendation, although you might want to spice it up a little bit if you were expecting it to be a little hotter. I really hope Samyang comes out with more products in the Tangle line because these are some of the most inventive recipes I've come across since starting this channel. Great stuff. If you give these a try, let me know what you think and how you prepared them. I still have a couple more kimchi products in my review queue, but for the sake of variety, we'll move on to something else for the next video. Please make sure you've got your notifications enabled for new episodes, and hopefully I'll see you next time on Noodle Journey.